And welcome to the Instigator Hour. My name is Ren Werner, and I am delighted to say that we have one of my favorite and first, TikTok mentors that I've found on the platform, Mr. Matt Bacon. Hello, Mr. Matt Bacon.
Thank you. Should I applaud too, so it sounds like there's people in the studio?
And I do a lot of the post. I can throw some stuff in for us too if you want. You may recognize him from his cigar. We were just talking about that in our little pre-interview, but yeah, man, welcome. I'm curious to pick your brain. That's been the whole credo for this season of the Instigator Hour has been me, falling down the rabbit hole of this indie music marketing world, which is I've been referring to as the Wild West since kind of starting to work within it. But there are so many people. There's so many people kind of doing what you do, like kind of marketing coaching, if you will, or just good ideas. But you seem to be, I don't know, you speak to me in a way that's so genuinely authentic and kind of carefree. I envy your ability to make these kind of effortless seeming videos, and then that's how they're so relatable, That's very kind of you. I mean, I think they're relatable because unlike 90% of the other creators, I've actually slept on the floor. Right. Yeah, we were getting into that.
And done weird drugs. Right. And I think that you see a lot of these people who are trying to apply Russell Brunson, are vaguely involved in their scene or are in a moderate band and are trying to apply Russell Brunson-esque business plans to the music industry.
Yeah.
And that's a whole separate conversation that I actually often have with Jesse Cannon, kind of making fun of it, because that's not really how you make money in the information economy anymore, because we broke that. Broke courses as a society. You can't really sell a course and expect to go somewhere now.
Right.
You have to when we do the 6-month plans or the consulting calls, it's personal. It would be cool if I could just make a $30 course and sell
that's okay.
10,000 of them, but
and that's, I think, there is, from what I've learned, kind of investigating, if you will, TikTok over the past few months, has been there does seem to be a bit of a smarmy marketeer moving in vibe. As well as there's clearly an uptick in indie artists and musicians realizing oh my God, this is the new MTV where you can break and then jump on a massive tour in a month if you're prepared for that kind of level up,
Yeah.
But yeah, so and also scams, just the internet in itself is just a wild hotbed of scammers. So
and it's insane to me how many people still fall for a lot of those scams.
Yeah.
Where I'll get DMs from people who look I don't mind if it's an old person or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And I definitely have a set of rules with my grandparents because a couple fucked up things have happened where people have tried to imitate me and contact them and stuff.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah.
That's part of why I don't use my real last my real last name is not Bacon.
Well,
that makes sense. But it's regardless, it's amazing the amount of young people who hit me up and can't identify a scam. But point being, there is this smarmy marketer element, and that's always going to be a piece, right? But you can always tell authenticity, and I genuinely believe that TikTok, as much as a lot of as sort of a thing kind of leading into Web3, but not really Web3.
Right.
As we reach the end of Web 2 and kind of go into the next thing, you see a lot of anger and you see a lot of resentment, and and TikTok in particular spurs up a lot of resentment and weirdness because people see these dumb dances blowing up. But what I've found is, honestly, first of all, a lot of content that used to work elsewhere still works on TikTok. You're just too lazy to try it. Literally, I've blown up the Kill Switch Engage and Apocalyptica TikToks, literally just using live footage, interview clips, and music video clips.
Right.
And then also for Kill Switch Engage, we did fan videos. But I didn't hit up Jesse Leach and go hey Jesse, I need you to do a dance for me.
Right. Yeah. It's not
because he'd be bro.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you about that because I have my friends that are in metal bands, and when I was first kind of falling down the rabbit hole and realizing the potential on the platform, I was trying to get my metal friends into it, and it just does not jive with their kind of ethos, you know, like they're like, no, I'm like, because there's not like a whole lot of metal, I feel like, or maybe I just haven't been exposed, that hasn't been fed to me in the algorithm yet, but I feel like there is a lot of, the indie alternative bedroom pop kind of stuff. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of hyper pop, a lot of that kind of thing going on. And I dig all of it. Like, I'm into it. And I like it being the frontier of the Wild West, if you will. But
but the point being, like, like those genres, that are sort of the popular young people genres right now do tend to dominate. But, like, you do see things where, like, there's a band called Basilica from North Carolina, who are like a death metal band who are killing it on TikTok right now, right? You see, who are like all young kids who are doing a good job. You see every niche is there. Like, there's this person I'm friends with. They're like a non-binary crust punk who make videos about like rudimentary peni vinyl. And like, I don't know if you know who rudimentary peni are, but they're like a very OG US crust band, and it's like, okay, like,
that's finding its way into TikTok.
That like they have 30,000. That this person has 30,000 followers, like pushing like weird shit, and like you can just like if you spend the time, you can find that. And then there's even stuff like genres I would say are even like less TikTok friendly than metal. Like there's this guy Brian Andrews who's like makes really good like really heartfelt country, right? But it's like sad blue collar man country,
sure,
about like missing your daughter while you're like driving a truck.
Fair enough.
And it's like really well done, but he makes TikToks that like perfectly speak to like, sure, some of them are silly, but like a lot of them are just real.
Yeah. Right?
And are just like speaking to like, this is what it's like to be a blue collar welder guy who has to go work, 2 doubles, like back to back so he can feed his kid. And that's what his music is about. And he's like found a way to make TikToks that fit the TikTok format and can go viral.
Sure.
But are also authentic to that music. And like, if you had asked me if like, thoughtful, sad country about being a blue-collar worker and opioid addiction could have a market on TikTok, I don't know if I would have said, you know what I mean?
But I mean, that's like that. I can understand how that could resonate with so many, I understand.
Well, those are important things like that resonate and that we need to talk about and are cool, right? And it's, or not.
No, I get you. Interesting. Compelling. Yeah. No, I
just realized. Yeah, opioid addiction is not cool.
Agreed. Yes.
But moving on. But like, you get my point. That like, and like, I honestly think that the people who think TikTok is lame have not spent enough time on the app and have not like, and like, it's really like about sitting there and thoughtfully deconstructing like. Literally, something I used to do as a kid that my parents would make me do is we'd be watching TV, and we would like watch a commercial, and then my mom would be like, who do you think they were targeting in that commercial? Why did they do this? Right?
Wow. Like, they were raising you to be a little marketer.
It's like,
that's crazy.
A lot of how I was raised, like there was like a lot of like weird, like my grandfather was a professor of business psychology, so from like the age of like 10, I had just like had a reading list,
and
like cool. I still like call him to argue about like Malcolm Gladwell and stuff. So it's so like I always even though I didn't go to college, like I had all these influences.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And I feel the same. But I feel you.
The point being, the people who don't like TikTok have not spent the time on TikTok to really sit down and be like, why do these videos work?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's what I've been following the advice of the people that have plenty of followers, and like that's the thing is like, first of all, there are like the different ways of approaching how to present yourself on TikTok, right? Like one of which is to present yourself as an expert on something and to offer advice, to provide value, right? And personally, I even as a guitar player growing up, everyone's like, oh, you should teach guitar, that'll an easy job, easy money. I'm like, yeah, but I'm a horrible teacher. I don't like teaching.
Yeah.
It aggravates me. I don't have the patience for it. And I feel the same way with like trying to present anything on TikTok as like I'm an authority on this and this is the way it is, and because like no one fucking knows anything really, you know. Like there are people that have done things and they've seen results, and you know, you seem like a very figures driven guy, like you've got Excel spreadsheets like mapping out every one of like your data points of what you're attempting to do. I don't have that in me, which freaks me out, and like that's why I'm consulting with you. You know what I mean? Like
no, yeah, and I think you gotta. The way I see it is sort of a lot of people, you've got to work with what works for your learning style, right? And and I think that a lot of people like really overthink, you know, how they're approaching it. And to me, it's sorry, I'm trying to pet the cat,
it's
and
fine,
like,
it's all good.
First, he bothers me for not petting him, then he bites me for petting him. You're such an asshole.
Yeah, I feel you. That's staying in, by the way. I'm not editing that out.
Yeah, for sure. Go for it. Whatever. But the point being, like, you know, you've got to, like, go with what's worked for you in the past and what you're realistically going to do. And this was something that really took me a long time to learn in consulting, right? It was like, I can't really tell people, you know, like I have to understand, I can't just tell people what I do. I have to tell people like what they'll do.
Right.
Because, you know, it was hard for me to kind of wrap my head around this, but like other people, their brains don't work the way mine do, and my advice is not going to necessarily be good for them.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And that's like, you know, which like seems breathtakingly obvious, but is like sometimes hard to execute on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is like, so for instance, like what? Like, I remember seeing at first, it was like, yeah, you want to post about once a day. That's thoughtful. But then there's other thoughts on that of like, no, you want to do like Gary V is like 4 times a day. If you're not posting 4 times a day, like you're just wasting your time.
He's correct, but also it's like a balance of like, again, what's realistic, not overwhelming people. Cause like I get accused of that sometimes, and it's like, yeah, but you know, like I want to handhold people to something good, you know, but also like I work with who a lot of these people want to be, and I know how those mindsets work, you know, but and simultaneously I think people try to do a lot of apples and oranges, and again, different things work for different people.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like there's like a different prize at the end of the rainbow for different people. You know what I mean? Like,
this is also true. Yes.
Like some people want to go viral, but they don't really know what to do if and when they do that. Like I do think there's something really valuable about like learning this ecosystem kind of organically and figuring it out yourself. Like, yeah, pull in the information that you're getting from the other creators on the platform, but you know, figuring out what works for you, like you said. And like for me, I burnt myself out around our first release, and I built up this whole narrative, this kind of meta narrative around our single, which was called The Wrong Way. And so like the narratives that I built were like it caused earwormitis, and so people's heads were exploding, like in the movie Scanners. So I got like an investigator involved, and I've created these characters, and that was a lot of fun. And it was really like off the top of my head, and I was doing it like daily, like coming up with a script, writing it down, figuring out how to shoot it, and that was fun for me. But it was daunting, and it kept me from making music. However, now that being said, not to overly ramble at you, but that being said, I will say rethinking and figuring out how to market our music correctly has actually pulled my brain in a different area, where now when I do come to music, I feel like ideas are just pouring out now. I feel like my creative brain has been kind of re-energized with thinking about how to approach our next year, you know? Sure,
absolutely. And I think that's like, you know, and this is part of, to circle back, part of Jesse Cannon's book, Processing Creativity.
Right.
Which is a really excellent book that really approaches a lot of this in a much more thoughtful way, you know, and like speaks to how, you know, and and I think really what a lot of it comes down to is again, understanding your end goal and also understanding how you work. And I think it's really, really easy to, because you see this all the time. You see people who literally have no music out, who've never put out a song, go like, oh, but there's also and I made a Bacon bit about this the other day, there's also going to be like a film component and a dance and this and that, and it's like, just put out a fucking song,
right? That can cripple yeah.
And I think that but then simultaneously, like, you're right, like, they can also be really cool, but I think you have to kind of really like thoughtfully look at your momentum and how you want to proceed, and just like just take that time to just ultimately self-reflect and have self-awareness.
Absolutely. But also, I think stepping back and like looking at macro, like, again, I hate to keep referencing Gary Vee, but he's pretty much one of the top people of like how to fucking push through and do your thing. But his whole idea of like long game, man, your legacy, like, stop being so impatient. Like, I don't know, I get caught up.
Yeah, no, and
yeah,
Gary Vee is interesting to me because like a lot of what he says is immensely valuable, but he's also kind of like full on come out as like a sort of insane con artist.
What do you got? What dirt do you have? What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, because like the NFT thing, right? Like for a long time, like he didn't really like, he monetized being Gary through like speaking appearances, but like relative to his net worth, that wasn't like he's making money, but like $50,000 to Gary Vee is not $50,000 to you or me, right? Like, fine. But I understand it's fun, it's empowering, and he likes helping people. Okay, that all made sense to me, and I got a lot out of it. But
not that friends, huh?
And I really admire how like he was never trying to sell a course. Like he tried to, he had books to sell, which is fine because I learned better with books, and he just is trying to, and he wasn't trying to sell a course. Okay, cool. Or I think at one point he did, but then he was like, no, this isn't for me, that's stupid. Mm-hmm. That being said, this NFT thing, like, because like what happens now is, and this is part of the whole, like, one of the issues with the NFT market, even though like I'm a believer in NFTs and I spend time in the space and I have a big meeting about NFTs tomorrow morning with a major artist, but like one of the issues is like, okay, so you have this thing where like, like there's that infamous conversation between Paris Hilton and Jimmy Fallon, like talking about their Bored Ape NFTs and like basically like very transparently using it to raise the value of the NFT.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so when, so if you're the leader, if you're one of the leaders in the space of NFTs and you're like nakedly just like, yeah, bro, like this is going to make me money and I want you to know more because it's going to make me money, then cool. Fine. But Gary Vee kind of has this thing of like, oh, I'm doing it for the community and this isn't really for me. And it's like, literally, I have a friend do an NFT drop and Gary Vee follows me on Twitter. No big deal. But, right. But basically, because Gary Vee follows me, my buddy who's doing this NFT drop had me tweet about his drop and then posted in the Discord, oh, this guy Gary Vee follows is talking about our NFTs, and it raised the value. And I was like, this is so wrong.
But man, what a cool lever to pull, right? Like,
yeah, right? Yeah, no, what a cool lever to pull. But it's like, but like the thing is, like, what he does is the same as like Elon Musk, like manipulating Tesla stock prices with his Twitter.
Right.
And we're all like, Elon Musk, that's kind of shitty. Maybe don't do that.
Right.
And he's like, fuck you, I'm Elon Musk. Like, this is just what you do. This is just how you make more money.
Yeah.
And he's right. Mm-hmm. But like, he admits, yeah, bro, I just wanted to make more money.
Right.
like I wanted to be worth $300 billion today.
Real quick, it's because you brought up Elon Musk. He recently referenced TikTok as being annoying, the AI of TikTok being annoying. Sure. And I'm not exactly sure what he's referencing, but I mean, I do kind of get it. It is pretty low attention span type annoying algorithm, but it's also what makes it so special, I think. And then he was put on to say, well, why don't you make a transparent social media platform? And he's like, maybe I will. And it's like, damn, what would that look like? What would...
And then he bought 9% of Twitter and was like, yeah, bro.
Got it.
But like, Twitter is also like the most transparent social media platform. That's part of why it's
the world's group chat thread, yeah.
There you go. but like that's why Twitter is enduring, right? And it's funny because it's like that's why people, again, it's this thing where, like I said, with TikTok, like it's this different thing from what we're used to, so people get scared and hate it. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Twitter, right? It's like Twitter is fundamentally what you post on Facebook and Instagram is not going to work on Twitter, right?
Right.
Okay, you've accepted this, but like a lot of people see that and then that makes them angry and they hate it. Like Twitter gets a lot of hate, and I love that meme where it's like, my brother in Christ, you follow the accounts.
No, listen, that is it though, right? It's like in the attention economy, your ability to survive is directly correlated to your ability to adapt to the new incoming platforms. Is that like a fairly correct thesis? Like that's always, I mean, I'm 37. I grew up with the evolving technology, each console, each thing. And I just feel like that's been burnt in my brain. I feel like we've got to be close in age, probably similar for you, right?
So I'm 26.
Oh God, I'm an old man now. Great.
No, it's awesome. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just. But you've seen
but
technology
like everyone
move.
Thinks I'm 50, point. So. Yeah. No. Like. Yes and no. Like I think there are layers.
Right.
Okay, because. Like on some level you are correct, but on another level there's tons of people who have their Facebook success who still have successful businesses purely off of Facebook, right? Like Kill Switch Engage, good example, right? As a band who kind of came up pre-Facebook and really benefited from Facebook in like 2006 to 2010. Mm-hmm. Right? Like a band that has like, I don't know, like 2 million Facebook people and like 200,000 Instagram people or whatever. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's a good number, but I feel
But whatever. Like, they still get a lot of traction on Facebook, right? Like, they definitely need Instagram. It's definitely their, the good platform for them. But like, Facebook is still like making traction, making sales, getting people checking in,
which is why you went got so defensive about Jesse Cannon saying Facebook ads are dead, right? Like that's kind of the vibe.
No, that's because Jesse and I have conflicting opinions on a variety of things, and as I pointed out in the live stream, I've run successful Facebook ads for clients of Jesse's,
right?
But also I'm like that relationship is different and very sacred and special, and and like we're going to disagree on these things, but also I think
again it's the Wild West, man. There are different ways to go.
But basically, like you have to understand, like Jesse is right that there's other places you can spend your money on ads, and a lot of those places are good, and some of them are quite possibly more effective than ads, right?
Right.
And what I say is, sure, but ads are not creating reality. At least ads not on the level of spend that 99% of artists have.
Right.
They're not creating reality, they're amplifying reality. Mm-hmm. So if you already have streams, then we can amplify. Mm-hmm. If you're already doing something, we can grow that. If you're not doing anything, you're not going to go from nothing to somewhere with ads, right?
Right.
Like you want to have, like, and I think this is the misconception, as I think people think ads are the whole pie when really they're a portion of the pie, an important portion, but they're not the whole pie, and then of course there very much is this element of Facebook ads are extremely complicated, extremely non-user friendly,
right?
And like do rip a lot of money out of a lot of people's hands, but like a lot of money relative to like you and me, and like not a lot of money relative to Facebook, which is like what I really don't understand is like they don't need to be like fucking people out of $25,
right.
Because they press
and
boost.
They will and they do.
Yeah, and it's like the economy is like relative to like biggest spend I've ever done was for a big festival and was like several $1,000s a day. Right? And I that's like 98% of Facebook ad revenue is like Walmart.
Right.
You know, being like, okay, we're going to spend $10,000 a day and crush every company in Altoona. You know, because like we can just do that, fuck you. And like, so I don't understand why they would make it so hard for little guys.
Sure. So, I mean, well, with that being said, I mean, it came out, like, I bring that up because it was like when Facebook was having all their PR nightmare and then they changed their name to Meta and they moved forward.
Yeah.
And Facebook profits tanked or whatever, right? Like their Facebook ad sales tanked. And also then looking into then TikTok ads and or Instagram ads being just more bang for your buck in that world at that particular juncture. You know what I mean? Like, from what I can tell. I mean, I don't know. But I will take a break real quick because we're running out of space here. So just give me 1 second. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right. And we're back. We're not going to take too much of your time. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt Bacon. This whole show is going to be featuring some of the best music that I have found through TikTok. So we've got a bunch of cool artists. Tell me if you know of any of these guys. Michael X. Witt, have you heard of this dude? The freak folk guy who's doing his big campaign about like getting into a small bus and making a documentary about TikTok and the community and stuff.
Yes, I've seen that guy.
That's cool, so we're going to check that out. I wanted to ask you too about like being funny when you're also like there's so many comedian, musician, like Bo Burnham types.
Yeah, and it's like, it's weird, and because like some do it really well and some do it really poorly.
Yeah.
Or rather, some people are genuinely really funny, but don't know how to transfer that to the music. You know, I think you have to learn to cross-apply the skills, you know, and understand, like, okay, I've got to make a skit about the funny thing, like a funny skit that leads into my song.
Right.
You know, or an on-brand skit that leads into my song, right? Because every successful music TikTok is the exact same formula of hook, performance, call to action.
Right.
Right? Like, every successful music TikTok is like, to use that guy Brian Andrews I was talking about earlier, it's like, you know, like, here's what it sounds like when you're a blue-collar man who has to explain to his daughter why he can only stay at home for 2 hours.
Right.
And then he does this, like, incredibly moving, sad song, and then he has, at the end, is like, go listen to it in full on Spotify. Okay, that's you know, and was literally the least funny thing I could think of.
Well, no, I mean, it's interesting because like even like Phoebe Bridgers is a great example of this. Where like her songs are like super sad, but her presence is like super funny. Like she's so I don't know. There's
and it definitely helps, you know. But I think you don't need that, right? You know, like there's other ways to do it. Well,
I do think it's funny because like music as an industry has always been kind of like, yes, the commodity is the actual music, but it's also the cool factor of the artist. And I feel like, I don't know, personally, I've always tried to have a little bit of like rock and roll mystique, where it's like, you don't actually know me, and then we present this thing up front here, that's our band, and we hide behind the armor of our band logo and that. I mean, I'm sure that like rings true with metal dudes and punk and stuff. And like the whole idea being like, well, we're DIY and we don't really care about the capitalist win. And like, but then you have this opportunity with TikTok where like, well, maybe we do, you know, and like maybe we can do this. And then how do we present ourselves in like an authentic way?
Sure.
And for me, like, I'm sorry, go on, because I'm here to hear what you have to say, not me.
Like I said, a lot of it is consuming enough other TikToks to understand like what makes sense, you know? And like, you know, and there's like literally stuff where it's like some of the best performing punk TikToks are just like cool footage of punk shows. Right. Where it's like people stage diving and like kids hate moshing each other. Like that tends to do really well. Right. And it's almost like, because especially like I find the vertical format to be so intimate. Right. You know, and so like you can really get the sense of like, oh my God, that hand came into my face. Yeah. Right.
You're right.
You know,
yeah, that's right.
And I think, and again, like if you consume a lot of content, you can figure out a way to be like, oh, hey, you know, how do I maintain that mystique? Because I agree that mystique is valuable, But I think there's definitely, like, if you look, there's definitely people who maintain a certain level, a certain veneer of rock stardom.
Yeah. No, it's possible. I've seen it done. Like, there are a handful of people that are doing it the right way and doing it, and I do think that's it, right? Like, eventually you discover how to be your authentic self and be really good at presenting yourself in this new format. I don't want to stop talking to you, but I might as well just wrap it up now. But Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, dude.
I will see you on the talk. And people don't say that, TikTok. I'm making stuff up.
I come up with a ton of really dumb, corny
sign-offs,
TikTok puns to embarrass my sister, who taught me how to use TikTok.
Excellent.
So I'll say a lot of stuff like, I don't want to get into politics.
Oh,
eye roll. Like a lot. Like, I'll refer to other TikTokers I'm talking to as my fellow talkers.
Oh god. Well, I've heard the term mutuals, and I'm like, I don't know if I like that. That feels weird. I don't want to call everyone my mutuals.
I know.
There's some cringy shit going on, and I think you just have to accept the fact that you're gonna, if it's quality over quantity, you're going to put out some weird cringy shit, and no one's going to give a shit about it. No one cares.
And I just find, like, especially in metal, because everyone kind of makes fun of it, like, I like kind of, like, as, like, the guy who, like, wears Hawaiian shirts to metal gigs.
Nice.
Like,
you're just sticking to them.
I just like, well, because it's like, whatever, like, fuck you, I work with neurosis. Like,
right. But also the idea of, like, the whole idea of getting into metal is, like, well, I don't want to, or really punk rock and, like, that whole ideology.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I didn't fit in here, but then you go to a whole new set of, standards where you're going to, judge other people because they don't have the right leather or whatever. It's like, you're just as bad as the people that made fun of you.
No, but it's like, it's just like, it's funny. And it's just like, I just enjoy, like, playing with playing with it and being, like, backstage at Cannibal Corpse, like, wearing jorts and flip-flops and being like, yeah.
Keep doing that.
I've got a Jimmy Buffett keychain. I'm like probably the world's biggest Jimmy Buffett fan under 30.
Wow.
All right. Nobody really knows that.
Head you are, huh?
Oh, I own, like, an inappropriate amount of Jimmy Buffett merch, dude.
Whenever I think of Jimmy Buffett, I can't not think of the movie Club Dread, where they had their fake Jimmy Buffett, and they're like, "Oh, play Margaritaville," and he's like, "I think you mean, oh God, what is it? Fucking Big Kahuna Berg or something like."
Yeah, like, it's great.
Anyway, Matt, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dude.
All right, this has been the Instigator Hour. My name is Ren Werner.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Take care, man. Okay, bye now.